So, have you ever found that guy in the red Land Cruiser that you pulled over again
No,
after you
no,
started getting your Land
I have
Cruisers?
not, man. I have not. I followed him on Instagram a while back, and I don't think he's very active on there. So I haven't had a chance to connect with him. It would kind of be funny because here we are, almost you know a long time since I met him. But hey, man, he kind of gave me a very expensive hobby. But yeah, I wish. Hopefully, maybe one day I reconnect with him. I hope he still got it because I think it was
Yeah,
awesome. It was a very clean cruiser.
yeah. So, what does your family think about your Land Cruiser addiction?
They just roll with it. I guess. I guess I just hey, I gotta go. I just found a great deal on Marketplace. I think I live on Marketplace, so I was like, I'll be back in a few hours. 10 hours later, here I roll with this thing behind me up, and I'm just like, I have to get it running to get it off the trailer because I don't want to push it off the trailer. So because it wasn't running. So this one actually has a Chevy 350 to the factory transmission or transfer case. Um, and it's got a little bit of a cam in it. He said he had it rebuilt completely. Had a shop do the work for him, do the swap, and honestly, like it looks really. They've done a really good job with the swap. It's got a paintless wiring harness. I still gotta do the headlights on it and taillights and whatnot. But it's not a big deal. I'm just trying to figure out the exhaust thing because the Chevy 250's got the ram horn um, exhaust manifolds. So trying to make all that fit with the Land Cruiser um, transmission and transfer case for the exhaust has been a little bit of challenging. Just because I don't have a pipe bender, so I've been kind of figuring that part out. I think that's probably my next purchase, a little exhaust bender. Um, but it's overall, I
Yeah,
mean, it's a good cruiser. I'm always on
yeah.
Marketplace, and if I
Now, do
find
you
one,
build
and it's
your
funny because my
cruisers
buddies.
for? Yeah. So, do you build your cruisers for rock crawling, or is it just you build them the
So
way you like them? And
pretty much, I wanted to stay. Honestly, I just wanted them to look good driving down the road, go to car shows. I think it's very for me. It's satisfying just to see them back on the road after so many years from just sitting around. You know, it just happened to have these things happen to have this lifts
yeah,
on them. So I just figured I'd let them be. They're good lifts. Yeah, it's a little high, but Tennessee's got you got the luxury of doing any of that. You could go down the interstate, you could go down back road, you could do whatever you want. So I think it gives me more options in a way. If I want to
yeah,
go, in the mountains or off road, and the ability's there, the power behind them is there. They got plenty of power to this with this V8 swaps. So I think it's just more of if it's got a factory suspension, I'll try to keep it that way. Same height, maybe get like a little 2-inch lift on it, just get some nicer tires on it. But I don't really have any specific way of
yeah,
building them. It's just for me, it's just whatever looks good. Um, I enjoy them. I drive them. I don't let them sit in the garage.
yeah. I 2 weekends ago, I took my 40 to my son's high school car show, and
Yeah.
uh, I wanted to kind of set my truck apart from any other vehicles that were there. Uh, and so I brought my work ramps and I pulled my right front tire up on one and my left rear tire up on one, and so I was all twisted up,
Yeah.
and
Little flexing, yeah.
it ended up it 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 lifted it up. Well, the ramps are what 8 inches, and so I was
Yeah.
like 8 more inches off the ground. I'm like, holy crap, thing is way up here. And then
Yeah.
as the car show was kind of winding down, I backed up off of the ramps, and I'm like, oh, it's low to the ground now.
It's
And
funny. It's funny you say
all
that because
all of the
when I
guys
when I
who
picked.
had their cars, so like all the guys who were there, they were like, oh, I love the way your car's set up. And then they had the senior class voting on the being the judges, and I guess it didn't hit their hot button because I didn't win any trophies. I'm like, So it's not always about the
You know,
trophies,
it's
though. Sometimes it's nice to get a trophy, but not
no,
always.
no, it is, yeah, yeah. It's funny. It's funny because when I brought this thing home, it had 33s on it, and it was a little high. When I put the 37s on it, trying to get in it, and I was like, I got in it, and then trying to get out, I was like, I have to jump out of this thing. I was like, hopefully I can make it down to the ground. I don't realize how high it was until I got up there, and I'm sitting up and kind of see above everything. I was like, man, this thing is tall. Like this thing is tall.
Yeah,
You know.
I think you made an Instagram post where you're like, oh man, I need a ladder.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny because like I had to use a ladder, a little phone ladder, just to work on the wiring on it, just because I can't reach. It's yeah, it's pretty high.
Yeah.
The tan one, the beige one, tan, it's also pretty high, and I was using a ladder to work on it as well. So it's kind of like after an hour or so, your back is starting to kill. You're like, man, what did I get myself into?
Yeah, there about halfway through any of the projects I work on my Land Cruiser, I'm always like, what on earth did I get myself into? And it's usually when you have just
Yeah.
a pile of parts and you're like, oh great.
Well,
um
it's funny you said the power.
so what would be like one of your fondest memories that you've had in your Land Cruisers?
Oh man. I think on the green 74 when I got stuck in the top of this trail. Uh because it was funny because it's cool to see how the Land Cruiser community comes together. Right before that happened, my like I said, I had put no real testing miles on it. I had put a oil filter that was an adapter, and I guess it was not, maybe from the vibration it wasn't tight enough. So here we're climbing up this really steep hill on the road trying to go through these trails, and my oil um completely just came out. My oil filter completely just dislodged, and I heard this pop, and then I lost oil
Oh
pressure, and
man.
I had set it up where if it lost oil pressure, it would just cut fuel off. So it did, and I kind of went to the right, and you can see this trail of just oil up this road, and it was a steep road, and I was like, oh man, like. So some guy drives up, was hilarious. Some guy drives up, he's like, "Hey man, you missing the oil filter?" I was like, "Dude," I was like, "Yeah, I am actually." So he gives me back my old filter. And I'm looking at the threads. The threads look great. It just from the vibration, it came undone.
uh
So I was like, oh my gosh. So
that's
I
funny.
screwed it back on. And I was like, I have no oil. This thing took 12
Uh
quarts because I had a bigger pan in it.
so your oil filter
And
just kind of vibrated loose and fell off?
completely off. Completely off. Like a completely like down the road about a quarter mile down this hill. And some random guy in an FJ80 found it. Uh, and he comes up and brings me this old filter, and I'm looking at it, and I was like, well, I said, I'm in the middle of nowhere in the Smoky Mountains. Like, there's no Napa around here. I'm like, I got to make this thing work. So I screwed it back on, and I had no oil. So it took 12 quarts. So guys were just driving by, giving me a quart of 530, 020, 1540. And I'm just dumping this mixture of oils. I'm dumping this mixture of oils in this Mercedes diesel, and I'm like, man, like I know you can't kill this thing. You just need some oil. Like I'll just get it to where I can have enough oil, and then I'll just go do an oil change. Well, I put it on there. I topped it off. It was just
Yeah.
I'm saying like it was synthetic, non-synthetic diesel oil. Like it was just a mixture of God knows what. And so I'm driving and I'm looking at my old temps, and my old temps are like really low compared to what they always were. And I was like, I gotta write this recipe down. I'm like, this is good. Like my oil is really cool, running cool right now. So I'm driving it for I don't know, maybe like 5 or 6 more miles, and my temps are really good. So I was like, well, you know what? So I'm just gonna send it. Like it is what it is. Like I'm here. Like I'm having fun. So they're like, hey, we're going on the easy trail. There was nothing easy about that trail. I had that poor 40 on like three wheels at one point. So I'm at the top of this trail now. So and mind you, I just lost my oil. I've got God knows what in it. I'm going up this trail, and I hit I must have bottomed out just perfect, and I hit the weld on the aluminum, and it cracked it just enough, and it was just completely out coming out of that pan. So the way I had set that 40 up, I could have had no brakes if it wasn't running because it was all vacuum from the vacuum pump on that Mercedes diesel. So I'm like, I'm stuck. Like, I can't roll this thing down the hill, like just using the e-brake. So I kind of went to the right. I hit up one of the buddies. I was like, can you bring me to my truck? And he's like, yeah. I was like, I'm gonna hook up my truck and trailer. I said, we're gonna go up this trail and we're gonna get this 40. And he's like, there's no way. I was like, dude, I was like, we're doing it. So here I am about an hour after with my Duramax. I'm pulling a 20-foot trailer up the trails that I was just doing three wheels on with this 40. And
Oh,
we get up.
jeez, jeez.
Dude, you should have seen the looks I was getting. And I was like, I'm not leaving this thing up here. It is what it is. Like, I got to get it out. So I get up to this, where the FJ is. We finally made it. It took us forever. And I forgot I didn't have the winch hooked up. So I'm like, I can't get this thing on the trailer. So some poor fellas just helped me push down the trailer. And then now I'm like, I have to go down this trail I just drove up without an FJ in this. I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, so I'm strapped. I've got this thing strapped down. Like, I don't even know how many straps. Like, it wasn't going anywhere. So now I'm going back down the trail that I just came up with my 2500 GMC, a 20-foot trailer, and an FJ40 on top of it. And I'll send you a picture, and you're gonna like, because people don't like, there's no way that happened. I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, like, that was the sketchiest thing I've ever done. But it was so fun. Like, I had a blast. Like, everybody kind of came together and kind of helped me out. Stuck. And then
Yeah.
we went to the after show. When we gathered, and they're like, "You're gonna win an award for the guy that breaks down the most." I was like, I'll take it. I'll take it. I had oil all over the trailer. Oh man, it was a mess.
uh,
It was a mess.
that that's a good one. That is a good one.
Yeah,
This last
yeah. I'll
weekend,
send you. I'll send you a
back in
picture.
October, I started planning a relic run for this last weekend. Um, so yeah, like back in October, planned the relic run for this last weekend, and because my Land Cruiser had been running great, I'm like, all right, it's finally where it needs to be. And my son, who just got a second gen Forerunner, 4-wheel drive, he's like,
Nice.
"Can I come on the relic run?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Can I drive my Forerunner?" I'm like, "Yeah." It's for any Toyota 4-wheel drive, 96 and newer. And when I had a second gen Forerunner, I would wheel it, but I've never done anything nearly as hard as what I do now in that, and it always
Yeah.
took me everywhere I wanted to go. And so on the way up there, I'm and I since my motor rebuild saga, I've just been like constantly checking my temperature, constantly checking my oil pressure, everything,
Yeah.
checking everything. I'm like, one eye on the road, one eye on my gauges. Everything was working good. I actually have two oil gauges now. I have an analog one and I have a mechanical one.
Mechanical one.
And so I
Yeah.
was just making sure that I just, uh, and all of a sudden I'm like 10 miles away from the meeting spot, and all of a sudden I lose power. I'm like, what on earth? And I I normally don't drive it full out for a long period of time. It's usually a couple miles and then I have to stop or whatever. But I'd been driving it full out or flat out for almost an hour. I hit all the traffic lights. Everything was going good, and then all of a sudden I just lost power. I'm like, oh crap!
Oh
And I pulled
man.
a car off the street, and I hear this clack 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 clack. I'm like, oh.
Oh
So I call up my son. I'm like,
no.
hey, you need to come back and get me. And he comes back and gets me, and I'm just like, he's like, well, what are we gonna do? I'm like, well, the Land Cruiser's gonna be sitting here, and we have to go because I'm the one planning the run, and so I was like 10 miles from the meeting spot. I call up my son. He's like, I'm like, you need to come back and get me. He's like, well, where are you at? And I told him, I'm like, I'm right on the side of the road. You can't miss me. I'm in a bright blue 40. So he comes back and gets me. I end up having to. I I'm still the one in charge of leading this whole event, and so I'm just now a passenger in his Forerunner, and we ended up having three 40s, two 80s, and a 60 uh, with us, and my son's Forerunner. But it's kind of was a blessing in disguise because I could look at Onyx and tell him where to turn and tell everybody else on the radios where to turn and which way to go,
Right.
and then he would go up these hills, and I was like, man, that's kind of a steep hill, and his little Forerunner just crawled right up it, and then he'd go down these undulating
Yeah. Yeah.
hills and drop a wheel and like really flexed out, and then oddly enough that we ended up having lunch at by a running river in central Arizona, and it's like we haven't had rain at all for a
In a
long
little
time.
while.
And uh,
Yeah.
afterwards, uh, after lunch, we wanted to go up to this train bridge, and we get to this one obstacle, and my son just stops, and he's like, "I can't drive down that." And I'm like, "Okay." And so I get out and I kind of walk a line, and I looking at which it was like a natural rock step, and I was looking at which ones had the smallest steps and where to put the wheels and everything. And so I spotted him down
Yeah.
it, and he was like, at one point, I was standing on the firewall on the brakes, and I'm like, you handled it perfectly fine. And
Yeah.
he got down, and I spotted everybody else down so that we could all get over there. And his little Forerunner, I am impressed with what that little Forerunner can do, and it's only on 31s. It has the stock suspension.
Yeah.
It's no lift, and
They're amazing.
uh,
They're amazing.
he handled it really well. And then of course when my wife asked him about the trip, he's like, "Oh, it was fun," and just ended it right there.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Yeah. Yeah. Nothing exciting happened. That's funny. That's good.
um,
So did you figure out
so
what your power
so do you
loss
ever
issue
take
was?
your? Or, I smoked a bearing. Um, I think it is
Oh,
the middle main bearing that I smoked. Um,
fun.
yeah, I I'm like I'm like best case scenario, possibly a bent push rod. Worst case scenario,
Yeah.
bearing failure. And I checked the push rods, pulled, took the valve cover off, and found one of my oil leaks was in my valve cover gasket. Um, Apparently, I had a wire get underneath the valve cover gasket, and it
Oh,
creased it, and so oil was just spraying out of the back. Um,
yeah.
but I always like checked my oil to make sure that I would have enough oil, that the oil was always up on the dipstick. I'm like, okay, we're doing good. Check my
Yeah.
pressures, and uh, so I did a roll test on all of my push rods, and they were all straight. I'm like, "Ah." So I put all the push rods back in, put the rockers back on, tighten it down. I turn it over by hand. It still turns by hand. I see all the valves dancing. I'm like, okay, it's not a cam. And then
Yeah.
I drain the oil, and I'm just like, oh, good grief, that smell! It just was burnt oil, and uh,
I was gonna say just burnt oil in it.
dropped
Yeah.
the pan yesterday and dropped the pan, and sure enough, there's bearing material in the bottom of the pan.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to work out with Higgy's off road um, to get it up there to have them work on the motor, because apparently I don't do a good job on working on motors. Uh,
I mean,
I
I'm the
I'm
same
good at
way.
the not technical stuff inside of. So yeah, I'm good at the not technical stuff and the not minute detail stuff, but like the tolerances and clearances for bearings and everything, I I know enough to get me in trouble, and that's probably what happened.
Yeah.
Um,
That's yeah.
and what
Yeah.
sucks is I'd only had like 3,000 miles on this engine rebuild, so it's like,
Oh.
ah.
What's one more
So
at
do
this
you ever
point,
go to
right?
like Giesmitter? Yeah. Well, like the
Yeah.
first time
Yeah. The GSM.
I spun a bearing, I'm just like, oh crap, what just happened? My motor's not turning over. I can't turn it. What just happened? And then the second time I spun a bearing, I'm like, stupid idiot, you spun another bearing. And then this time I'm just like, well, I guess it is what it is.
Yeah. It's I'll build it better.
So,
Yeah, the
and everyone, and
The
it's been my,
GSM TR.
yeah, it's been my daily driver. Great Smoky Mountain trail run, I guess.
Trail Ride, I think it is. Yeah, Trail Run. Yeah. So that was the first time I took that green FJ, the 74, too. That was the first like road test ever that was at that event.
Okay.
Yeah. So they got another one coming up, and hopefully I'll try to get that wrapped up
Yeah.
for it. I got a cabin in I don't know, maybe 20 minutes away from there, um, in Gatlinburg. So thankfully I have I could just go if I get this thing running and going. Again, it's kind of going to be like one of those things where history kind of repeats itself almost, because with the green one, like I said, that was the first time I ever put real testing was on that event. And then I think it's going to be happening the same thing for this one behind me. It's going to be
Yeah.
real world testing at that event. So hopefully this one doesn't break on me where I got to bring a trailer and my truck down.
Yeah.
I think I might take a little bit easier at this one than I did on the green one.
Yeah. And
Yep. You know what's
it kind of seems like
uh you know what's interesting?
Lone Star. Um, I think Lone Star is the first one of the year, then Giesmitter, then uh, Cruise Moab, and Rubathon.
Yep.
Hundreds in the hills, and then Solid Axle Summit. I think that's kind of the order
Yeah.
that they go.
The order. Yeah, I think I'll be interesting to see how this one does though, because it's funny enough that I'm used to, like I said, I learned how to weld and doing all this welding stuff on all the other ones, with the panels and floor pans and all that stuff. But this one has a fiberglass tub, um,
Oh yeah,
and it
I've seen
was
those.
the gentleman that yeah, yeah, which I honestly like. I've never been a fan of fiberglass tubs, just because they don't look that good. But on the pictures, when I first got the pictures, I didn't even notice it. It had a fiberglass tub. So I was reading the description. He said fiberglass tub, and I was like, really? So the story behind it was when he had bought this back in early 2000s. He's had it since I think 2001 or two. I think he said, but he was in college. He said it took the tub was far gone, so he got rid of the tub, and he said he found a fiberglass tub from Akula Tubs, which I didn't know they made fiberglass tubs back in the day. I guess they must have, because they'll do the aluminum tubs. and
Yeah.
he said it was brand new in the crate, and he got I think he paid like $3,500. He said so. He put this tub on it, which is interesting with the wiring because I can't get any grounds from the tub itself. So I actually welded some grounds around it to where I could get grounds, for the instrument panel and all the other stuff. Because we're kind of used to
Yeah.
like, oh, here's the 10
Yeah.
millimeter bolt, just use it as a ground, and it's like this thing. I'm like, I can't just weld a nut to this thing or a bolt. Like I gotta take a ground from the chassis or the battery itself. But it's actually a really solid tub. I mounted the seats on it, the roll bar and everything the other day, and I mean, you push on the roll bar and you're shaking the whole truck. Like it is. I'm very impressed by the fiberglass tub. Like I said, I
Yeah.
was never a fan of them, just because I didn't know any better. And I know a lot of guys will like, oh, you just throwing your money away in a fiberglass tub. Well, you don't have to worry about rust issues. Not that Tennessee has a lot of rust, but like
Yeah.
up north, or I'm from Connecticut. Before I moved to Tennessee, like rust and salt is a huge thing. Like this thing will never have to worry about that. And all the other panels are new.
Yeah.
I mean, he brought it down with sandblasted everything and fixed everything. So I don't at least I don't have to worry about rust in this thing. But I'm interested to see how it does on the trails with a fiberglass body. Um, yeah, I don't know how it's going to perform.
Yeah. Uh, it's kind of it's kind of interesting, like you were saying, going back to the electrical, because I mean, on newer vehicles they have like ground wires going back and forth and everything, but on our 40s, it's just like I'll use my taillights and brake lights for example. You have the component, the brake light, and then right next to it is the ground, or your
Yep.
stereo right next to it is the ground. It's just you just find the
Yeah, yeah.
nearest metal and it's the ground. And now that you've got
Yep.
a fiberglass tub, it's like, okay, now I got to be
Yeah.
creative with my grounds.
Yeah, yeah. So it's kind of I was doing some research, kind of
Uh,
getting like a kind of a centralized ground for a lot of the wiring, and it's got a painless wiring harness, like I said. So it shouldn't be too difficult to kind of figure it out. I'm sure I will figure it out probably, hopefully, next day or two. As I said, I'm kind of in a time crunch. I want to get it, on the road and running and drive. I've driven around the driveway. I got a long driveway and whatnot, and shifts real well. Not a whole lot of body flex. So, but it was just kind of it was challenging because like I said, I was used to just grabbing the nearest ground you could find, and creep an end onto the wiring and make it work. And this thing, I'm like, I
yeah,
can't do that. I gotta think outside the box, which is fun, honestly. And like I said, it's just the puzzle for me is just the more enjoyment part, just kind of figuring it out.
yeah. Just looking over my questions. Um, Here's one question that I got from my daughter. But how has owning a Land Cruiser changed your life?
Oh God. Um, it's made me spend a lot more money than I wanted to. um, it's been, honestly, man, it's been fun. Like I've enjoyed it. I'm a people person. I like talking to people. Kind of my line of work, anyways. Got to communicate. So with the Land Cruisers, like, is just coming up with ideas and getting ideas from everybody else, and just the community overall for me has been awesome. Honestly, like meeting people like you and other, like I said at that first Grand Smoky Mountain Run, I had random strangers were helping me out. Like I didn't know these guys from anywhere. Here they are, they give me their oil. Oil ain't cheap either. So it's like, it's just for me, it's been a very positive outcome. Just kind of see the good in people in a way. And
Yeah,
every time I have a question on one of these, I'll post it somewhere, and everybody's helpful. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of things I don't know. And that's why we got communities like this where you just kind of brainstorm through each other. Um, I've been in the cars for
yeah,
a long time. Like I said, I've got all different ones. I've got Ford F-100s. I restored a Defender and um H1 and whatnot. And it's like the Land Cruiser community is completely different than those guys. It's kind of it's funny to even to say that out loud, but I feel like everybody helps each other out a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you ever get a buyer for the H1? Because I saw you're putting it
So
up on Instagram the other day that somebody took a.
I did. Yeah, so I've had a few of them actually, some
Oh,
offers, and I don't know if I'm ready to get rid of it yet. Tell you the truth, um, I've got it all done up, and it was a SWAT vehicle for a local police department. Um, so it wasn't running and driving, and I put a whole new injection system in it,
okay.
and I did a ton of work, and painted, put the hard doors from Plan B on it, and sound system and TV, a little screen for Apple CarPlay and all this stuff, and leather seats. And
Yeah.
I put my kid's car seat in there the other day. And I'm like, she's enjoying this with the doors off, especially in Tennessee, whether it's hot in the summertime with the doors off. It's actually kind of fun. So it's on 37s. I got some really cool Vision wheels on it. It's on 37s. And I don't know if I'm ready to sell it yet,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah. I always wanted to ride around in an H1, just because I always thought they were kind of badass, and then working with a
Yeah.
whole bunch of military people, and they're like, yeah, if I ever see an H1 again, it'll be too soon.
Yeah.
Because they had to do everything in those things.
Oh man.
And so, uh, if you could have anyone riding shotgun with you, in any of your Land Cruisers, who would it be?
Yeah. So that's a pretty easy question. I think it would be my daughter. She's 2.5, and she loves the cars and everything. So I mean, this is what I build them for at the end of the day, for my kid to enjoy it. So she comes out in the garage, and sometimes I look away for a second and she's got a hammer hitting the side of the tire. I was like, oh, just. And she's like, "I fixed it, Dad." I was like, "Yes, baby, that's good. Like, let's just stop right there." But
Yeah,
yeah, that's a very easy for me, man. It would be my little girl. I enjoy driving her around in this FJs and all the other car builds I got, and she enjoys it. She gets the excitement out of it.
yeah. Um, as we talked a little bit earlier, how my son started, or he went on that Relic run and he drove his truck. I remember when my kids were just little and they all would fit in the back seat in the jump seats, and uh, and they just loved it. And now, uh, it's been like 9 years or so, and he's driving his own vehicle on trail runs. It's like,
I'm
it,
flies, that's for sure.
and I at first I was, yeah, at first I was kind of like, oh man, I'm not going to be able to drive it. But I ended up having just as much fun watching him drive as
Yeah.
I did myself
Oh
driving.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
Absolutely.
something to look forward to. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. And I've kind of built all the cars kind of around the kids. The Hummer's got a place where I could put the car seat in it, and the FJs will have brackets where I can mount the car seats in them. Just so I could just ride on the farm or down the street, whatever. We don't take long trips, especially with the kids, but
yeah.
um, she enjoys them.
Um, well, do you have like a top four favorite models of Land Cruisers? Like,
You know, that's kind of a loaded question because there's a lot of you know. I kind of like everything and anything that has to do with them, honestly. And I've owned, the 1Fs and 2Fs and the Chevy swapped ones, and Mercedes diesel swapped, and I just enjoy the 40s overall. Now you could get into the newer 40s, like 80 and above or whatever. They got power steering and AC, and which I don't really care much for. I just put the windows down. But
yeah,
I think my top out of all of them, I think be the 40s for me. I just enjoy them. I've not had any other series, to tell you the truth, so I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot better ones out there, but for me personally, I'm just a big fan of the 40, man. I just can't get myself to buy anything else that's not a 40 when it comes to Land Cruisers.
yeah. Well, it's kind of interesting because somebody turned that question on me, and I
Yeah,
wasn't expecting it. And they're like, "Well, what's your favorite top four favorites?" And I'm like, "Well, obviously I like the 40, and I really like the 60,
yeah,
and I've always said my next one's going to be an 80, but I do like the 100. I do really like the 200. The 250s kind of hit my hot,
yeah.
like
All of them. Yeah,
so
yeah.
basically all of them. I'm like, yeah,
Now
pretty much.
I do have one that I've been um, really kind of working towards would be an FJ45. I'm a big fan of trucks. I've got Ford 100s and whatnot. And I would the thing is with it, a lot of the guys, especially like South America, do the four doors on them.
Yeah,
So I think for me, one of the next big projects I will take on without any other distractions. So no, usually I get two, three projects going at the same time, but I would like to focus on a four door FJ45. Probably in a cooler tub. They make awesome tubs. Um,
that that would be
on, a,
cool.
on an 80 chassis or something along those lines, plenty of power. You got all the fun stuff in it. So, and I think because you can see the Jeep Gladiators and the four doors that look awesome. It's just I like the older style look. And I think nothing beats a 70s or 60s FJ45 with four doors.
Yeah,
In my opinion, with a nice lift kit, some tires. Uh, so I think that's probably next to the FJ45s, FJ40s. That's probably my second on the list, and that's probably as far as it goes. Honestly, I don't really have any desire to
yeah,
work on build any of the other ones. Really,
yeah. Um, Now, if you could have if money was no option and you could have a Land Cruiser built exactly to your dream specs, what would that look like?
yeah. So I think, like I said, in the South American market, I mean, those builders out there are just amazing. Some of the stuff they do, like you kind of see on the Instagram and all over Facebook. The four door FJ45s. Um, I think with a modern chassis, LS swap, you got all the power you need. Being reliable, go wherever you want, AC, power steering, all that fun stuff. All the amenities, especially for the kids. I got, like I said, I got small kids, and they ride with me as often as they can. So
Yeah,
I think probably one of the dream cars. I mean, everybody wants like an R8 or a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or whatever. And just like, I don't really have a desire for that. Yeah, they look cool and all, but it's just like, I get to work on these things, build it myself, take pride in it. And I think if money wasn't really an issue overall, I would probably build one of those just completely decked out.
yeah. Now, typically these old Land Cruisers, they're not fast. They're not the the flashy sports car. They're
Hmm.
not necessarily comfortable. They're hot. They're noisy. Why do
Yeah.
you think we like them so much?
I think the simplicity of it, honestly. They're very simple cars. They're metal. It's not like the little aluminum you got nowadays. Everything is very simple. You could build the brakes on them. You could bring the axles on them. You could tear your 2F down and build it back up, in your own garage. There's not a lot of electronics in them. And I think, honestly, the curb appeal on them is fascinating in a way because you don't really see much of them around. And when you do see some, people put some pride and joy into them, so they're beautiful builds. Like I entered a import alliance, for example, where I was asked to show the green FJ40, and there were cars there that were worth 5, 6 times as much as mine was, or more. And then the crowd was gathering around this FJ40 that I built, and I was like, "This is crazy!" And like we've never seen one at a show that's built well, and it looks good. So I think it's just like the overall. We take pride in our work. We build them, we drive them. They're simple, honestly, and they look good. I mean,
Yeah,
what 40 doesn't look
and
good? Like
yeah, I completely agree with that. They're they're just machines. There's nothing
meant to work.
fancy to them, and yeah, if you burn up a bearing in the bottom end of your 2F, you can strip it down, resurface the. You can almost do it in the vehicle, and
Yeah, yeah.
uh, and then put it back together, and uh, so yeah, and
But and you have the option, in a way, it's like, for example, a lot of guys do LS swaps, or
yeah,
any V swap. I mean, you have the option. There's plenty of room, so you have the option to do whatever. Yeah, a lot of guys will stretch them, 6 to 8 inches for better, handling and look, aesthetics and whatnot. But realistically, this things you could throw a V8 in it, with the advanced adapters to the 4 speed or a 5 speed, with your FJ60 or 40 transfer case, and they are just perfect. Plenty of power. Go street, in the interstate on regular streets. You go off roading. They don't take much to make them to make them operate in today's world in a way.
yeah, um, yeah, and it's interesting. I have an opportunity to work on some of those aluminum F-150s, and
Yes.
they're just like soda cans. They just
Yeah, it's a piece of
if
paper.
something happens, it's you have to replace the whole panel. You can't just
No.
knock out a dent or weld in a new cut out a section and weld in a new. You have to replace the whole thing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's another thing that's kind of nice about these old Land Cruisers is that they're because they're so simple and they're all steel. You can
Yeah.
work on them and you can repair them and keep them going and everything else.
I mean, people always like, well, it doesn't have airbags. And I was like, man, like this thing is 4,000 pounds or whatever the curb weight on after you've done everything is of just pure metal, just heavy duty steel. Like the airbag, the last thing you're worried about.
Yeah,
But it's funny, my line of work, I see, I mean, we make wrecks daily and very serious ones. These cars, they just couldn't pull up, like a little soda can. And it's like, yeah, you're paying, 80 grand for a pickup truck that's going to bend in half if you get hit. It's got airbags, but at the end of the day, it's kind of dang if you do, dang if you don't. So I just
yeah,
think it's just solid. You're solid.
and when I'm driving my 40 around I'm like actually up to speed and going along at a good clip, and somebody pulls out in
Yeah.
front of me, I don't even bother hitting the brakes. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to stop in time anyway, but
Yeah.
this truck will run through your car
Yes.
9 times out
Yeah.
of 10. So you're playing with your own life. I'm not.
Yeah, that's true. One of the stopping power, kind of just because reminded me, all of my FJ builds that all get disc brakes, front and back, every single one of
Nice.
them. I'll a lot of times I'll keep the same axles, 40s instead of if it's like a 74 and then your drums are older than that, I'll keep the same stuff and then I'll rebuild from the knuckle back out to disc brakes. But everything gets disc brakes, and I think that's what people have a miss. I guess they have this idea of like make power, but what's good? What's the power without stopping?
Yeah.
You got to be able to. And so I think that's very important on these cars. That's one of the first things I do is I do all disc brakes back and forth, front and back.
Yeah.
And it's the way people drive nowadays. I mean, you gotta you gotta be able to stop. Nobody pays attention. Everybody's on their phone, so you gotta stop. And for me, at least on my builds, everything gets disc brakes.
Yeah. I
Not
I
there's anything wrong with the drums, but
yeah. I on my 40 I have disc up front and drums in the back still.
yeah,
Um I have it on my if money's no option list to put
yeah,
discs in the back, but yeah, and even just going from drums to discs up front was drastically
huge
different.
improvement. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was.
a lot of people will, when they do swaps like that, they always forget about the proportion valves or whatever.
Yeah,
Cruising Core sells hence their shirt. I buy a lot of stuff from them, but um, where it kind of does itself, proportion stuff, so which is pretty neat.
yeah,
Um, But like I said, I've driven them with drum brakes. There's nothing wrong to them. I just don't think in today's world, they're as safe as they should be. Especially once we put V8s in them and make a little bit more power. About 300, 350,
Yeah,
whatever. Um, built little 350 on it with a cam or whatever the case might be. But well, especially LS swaps, like you got to be able to stop. So I think braking
yeah.
is it's very important, and a lot of guys kind of look over that, like, oh, my drum brakes work, they work great. I'm like, okay.
I've always told people, I'm like, with drum brakes you get one good stop per drive
Yep,
cycle, and
yep, and they're all gonna lock up on you.
if you waste that one good stop
Yeah.
early, then you're gambling with your life. But
Yeah, you
now
are.
that I have now that I have disc brakes, I I have more than one good stop in them. So I
Yeah. Did you do a
I'm
axle swap um from a later cruiser,
no.
or did no?
There was a guy. There was a guy locally who was a collector. He had collected for 40 years,
Oh
and
wow.
I was over at his house one day. Can't remember what I was buying. I think I was buying an amp gauge or an oil gauge, and uh, I asked him, I'm like, "Do you have a disc brake conversion kit?" And he's like, "Hold on, just a second." And I'm going through one of
That
his
you missed
Connex.
the dig through the pile, yeah.
I was going through one of his Connexes looking for something else, and he's like, "Yep, here's the calipers and no, it was the rotor and backing plate and adapter
Yeah.
and the hubs because I guess my hubs were just a little bit different. But
Yeah.
yeah, and he's like, here you go," and he sold them to me real cheap. Uh,
Oh wow.
so I think I bought the conversion kit for like $200 or something.
Oh man, you can't beat that.
Yeah, and so I'm like, all right, I'll be back when I have the money. I'll be back. And he's like, they're not going anywhere. I'll save them for you. And so, yeah, I
Yeah.
bought them like real cheap. And
I I, I think it's a JT Outfitters, if I'm not mistaken. They sell the full conversions, front, back, and
yeah,
everything on them. And they're not cheap, but for
yeah,
me has been one of those things. It's like I just spend the money on it, don't think about it. Just one on the to do list. Honestly, it's usually the first thing on the do list after I get them running and driving. Do the brakes,
yeah,
but their kit, I mean, is phenomenal. I've used them. I've used them on mine, and they work. They work real well. The adapters work perfect, and it is a little bit
yeah,
of wrenching. It is work, but it's worth it.
yeah. And I think that's what mine are, the JT Outfitters kit.
Yeah.
I did have to email them because it looked exactly like their kit, and I emailed them. I'm like, okay, what caliper do I use? And like, oh,
Yeah.
you're gonna use the caliper off of an '85 El Camino. I'm like,
El Camino. Yep.
all right.
Yeah, honestly, I think overall you're just paying for the bracket, the little adapted plate,
Yeah,
because a lot of the rotors, I think the rotors, the pads, um the calipers, I think they're all from the El Caminos, and they fit perfect on 15-inch wheels, especially if you do
yeah,
like a period correct restoration and you just want to upgrade the brakes. I had my factory wheels. I usually powder coat if they're in good shape. If they're not bent or anything, I'll have them sandblasted and powder coated, gloss black, and they fit perfect with those wheels.
yeah. Well, we are. I think if my calculations are right, we're actually over an hour now. Do you have any final thoughts for us?
No, I just appreciate you taking your time to have me on here. Uh,
Oh, absolutely.
Hopefully,
I see your Land Cruisers on Instagram. I'm like, oh, that is a sweet looking rig. And so
yeah. You never
I
know. You
personally, I
never
just
know what
wanted,
kind of a deal I'll find on marketplace and just show up with a Land Cruiser at home, and then it's like, hey, here guys, I
yeah,
got another one. Here's number 5, or here's number 6. And he's like, oh man, I'll get to it eventually, but I'll get to it. So yes,
yeah,
just thank you for having me in here. I appreciate it. I know we had some connection issues. So I think you're doing a phenomenal job, kind of getting us small time builders. I don't do this to make money. I do this for fun. Kind of getting us
Yeah.
a little bit of publicity in a way, and it helps a lot because I get to brainstorm through the guys and Instagram, and I hate mud forums or Facebook, and it's like, oh, you're the music builder guy, like, cool, here, this is what I do on my build. I'm like, great. So this platform helps a lot, and I appreciate you having me on here.
Yeah, no problem. I'm glad I got to finally meet you, and
As
I'm
well.
glad we got this done. So have a good night.
Awesome. Great. You as well. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye.